Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Daily Dealer Live. I'm your host, Sam Dark, and of course, back again is co-hosting Yuli DiMartino. Yuli, welcome to the show. So, a reminder to everybody, we're live across all CDG social media platforms. Post your comments to social media. Those comments will guide today's show. We'll post them, we'll share them, and we'll engage with our guests using those comments. Coming up today, speaking of which, VP Director of Operations at Bill K Auto Group, Dustin Collins. He's going to talk about a new social media initiative they have. And he said, this is going to be interesting. When someone shows up at the dealership with a camera, it's like hitting the lights and watching the rats run. Anytime someone wants to record, teams flee. And he'll have some tips on how to bring those teams back, because that is the new parking lot. It's social media. But first, let's hit today's headlines, Yuli. But before we do that, a little self-promotion. Congrats to Ziegler-sponsored NASCAR Cup Series driver Carson Hocevar on earning a P2 finish at Nashville in NASCAR's Cup Series. Thank you. And a P1 finish last night at Berlin Raceway. Coming up this weekend, as Ziegler celebrates our 50th anniversary, Michigan International Speedway. And I want to predict it first here on the Daily Dealer Live, that this 21-year-old who cannot rent a car because of his age, we need to find a car rental agency that'll rent to a 21-year-old. I predict he'll get the pole position. He will win MIS. So we'll come back next Monday and share the results of that. But let's turn to the news. First up today, a sharp-eyed employee at Stephen Wade, the note said Toyota or Honda, but actually found out it's Toyota. Stephen Wade Toyota flagged a suspicious VIN, exposing a stolen truck disguised with professionally altered VIN numbers. One of the suspects had allegedly already pulled off a similar scam at a neighboring dealership, successfully selling another stolen truck to a different dealership for $44,000 using the fake VIN. Detectives say the VIN tampering was nearly undetectable, and stickers and engravings that looked legitimate enough to pass surface inspection. And last week, they had a super dramatic bust on the showroom floor where multiple suspects were arrested, 3 of which are now facing 6 felony charges that include 2 counts of receiving a stolen vehicle and altering a vehicle identification number. It highlights the increasing problem of theft and how thieves have progressed to actually altering VINs, not just trying to steal keys and vehicles. We'd love to have somebody from Stephen Wade come on and tell us a little bit about how they did that, how they got the vehicles back, how they exposed the ring, and how they prevented a theft. So that challenge is out to them. Next up today, the U.S. House is reintroducing the PAID Act, which would prevent insurers from using non-driving related data like credit scores, zip codes, or education level to calculate auto insurance rates, aiming to make pricing fairer across income and demographic lines. If passed, the FTC would oversee enforcement with the authority to fine insurers a minimum of $2,500 per violation and issue new rules to prevent workarounds. Lawmakers backing the bill argue that current pricing models unfairly penalize working class drivers, locking some out of car ownership entirely, especially with increasing insurance rates. They are going up in today's marketplace. The proposal comes amid ongoing insurance inflation. Rates jumped 12% in 2023, 16.5% in 24, and are forecast to rise by another 7.5% in 2025 as rising premiums become a bigger barrier to car ownership. Removing non-driving factors from rate calculations could potentially make vehicles more accessible and boost retail sales. And in automotive, anything to bring down cost of ownership is a huge win. So good luck on that. In other news, both Volkswagen and Nissan are undergoing large-scale workforce reductions as they scramble to align bloated operations with declining sales. Volkswagen is targeting, get this, 20,000 voluntary employee exits by 2030, and Nissan's cutting 11,000 jobs. We've previously reported that, and closing 7 plants. But the root issue traces back years. Nissan overbuilt capacity, chasing an 8 million car dream that never materialized, while VW is still burdened by high-cost European operations and unprofitable EV production amid intensifying Chinese competition, aka BYD. Each company is executing a major restructuring plan to shrink legacy costs and regain financial discipline. VW is doubling down on U.S. investments to hedge against European inefficiencies, and Nissan is pushing forward independently after failed merger talks with Honda. Basically, after years of overextension, both companies are betting that leaner, more regionally focused operations can restore competitiveness in a market that now rewards speed, flexibility, and efficiency.
I think the best part here about this story is finally the admitting that there needs to be a little bit of downsizing. I think Vinay had said it a few months back on the podcast. A great guy, great company. I think the world of them. That there wasn't any future plans to downsize. But if you've built a network that is predicated off of an assumption that you can put 8 million vehicles into the market, and you're putting in 3.4 million, some things have to change. As quickly as Brian Benstock was to point that out when he was on, the ability to right size the ship is very important, but at least they're acknowledging that this problem has been long standing. So
the ability of great companies to pivot and become larger or smaller based on market demand has everything to do with their ability to be successful in the market. So I agree with you, man. Like Nissan's ability to pivot and flex has everything to do with their future success. So we wish them well as dealers that are self-interested in that market. So next up today, the average trade-in hit $34,014 in April, the highest level since May 2023, up $388 from March and $820 year over year as dealers increased offers to secure used inventory amid growing supply pressure. Dealers are proactively overpaying for trade-ins because tariffs are tightening the pipeline for new vehicles, making used cars more valuable and urgently needed to fill retail gaps. With inventory down 5.2% entering May and consumers racing to buy pre-tariff vehicles, dealerships are feeling the squeeze, especially as new car prices start climbing again in response to cost pressures. Trade-in values are becoming a key lever in this environment, not just for sourcing inventory, but for preserving gross margins as pricing volatility returns across both new and used segments. Yuli, we've talked every single episode for the past many weeks. The golden goose of automotive right now. Obviously, you want the right OEM, but it is the right used car trade. And so many strategies we've heard, whether it's a used car buy center, whether it's having a great process in the drive to acquire trade-in vehicles. It is super important to have the right vehicles. Yoga Car says April was high. However, we pulled back since then. Thanks for that comment. We encourage all of your comments, Yuli. Yes?
Absolutely. And keep them coming.
All right, here we go. Let's dive into our first guest, who I love this whole imagery of as soon as you turn a camera on a showroom floor, people flee. I see that, right? There is something where people are reticent to be on camera. Welcome. Joining us today, VP Director of Operations at Bill K Auto Group, Dustin Collins. Dustin, welcome to the show.
Welcome,
Thank you.
Dustin.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be on here, gentlemen. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Yuli, I need a pair of headphones like Dustin has. I think I'd be better off. This AirPod does not work in my world. So Dustin, give us a brief deal about your auto group. Who is the Bill K Auto Group? Where are you located? And what do you do there?
Okay, so we're a Bill K Auto Group. We've been in business over 50 years. We're in Lisle, where we have Bill K Chevrolet, and we have Bill K Buick GMC and Nissan in Downers Grove. We also have Corvette Classic location, where we have a lot of classic cars. That's at Downers Grove. And then we have Honda and Bourbonnais. So my day-to-day is I run the day-to-day operations, and I bounce around location to location. I'm all over the place. So just kind of watching everything, watching a lot of data, a lot of reports I have to look at and, motivate the people and show up and be in the trenches. And
Dustin, we're neighbors. We have a Chrysler store in Downers Grove, right?
You do. You do. I've seen the helicopter come in.
Yes, we're neighbors there. We're neighbors there. So talk to us about what you said. You've got a new social media campaign that you're working on to get your salespeople and other members of your staff to promote the store and your business. What are you doing to do it? And why on earth does everybody run away from that camera when you turn it on?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of good questions. First off, yes, we have a social media team that we've hired. We have two gentlemen that go to every location every day, and we try to do 35 videos per location, per rooftop. And we monitor, obviously, what they're posting. So that's, all automotive related, not their personal, things that's going on in their life. We want to keep it automotive. And so we have the camera crew that comes in, and, I could be in my office and see these guys come in, and you'll just see salesmen running. I mean, they're running no one wants to be on camera. When we first started this back in March, everybody was scared to get on it. And I said, hey, I'm the old guy and I'm getting out here doing it. So if I could get out here and do it, I'm the car father is my tag on there, and kind of the Bill K mascot of what's going on at Bill K. And once we got people to start seeing, hey, we get some views on here. We've had, people come into the pro shop, buy some golf bags, things like that, and see traction. You get some buy-in. So it's got to be with leadership. So we see it as a way to confirm appointments with our customers, send you a video. Hey, Sam, we're looking forward to seeing you guys at 3:00 today. Hey, Sam, you didn't show up. What happened? You missed the appointment. So we use that. And then also we like to, we're big with media in the service department. So if you bring your car in, get a brake job, oil change job, we'll send those repair videos to help you get a thumbs up, because, you send your wife to a dealership and they call her, she's getting an oil change, and call her with a big service bill. You're going to go, hey, run out of there. Then you look at that video and see, wow, that is a safety issue. That is something we need to do to the vehicle. So we do that. We also want to show to the public out here in our Chicagoland area, it's a fun place to work. We want you to come work here. We want, employees to have fun. So we like little mini content creators in our group. And what we've learned, Sam, is they do run, but then the people you think would never want to do it are the one that does it. I have a 78-year-old salesman, and his granddaughter saw him on TikTok, and it just was a big deal for him. So now every time I see him, he stalks me down to try to get on camera. It's pretty funny.
Wait, are you also known as the car father, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Sean Hopper's a big fan. He says, I want words of wisdom from the car father. So before you tell us more about this 78-year-old who turned and became a social media influencer and star, how did you get bought off into this? Like, obviously it needs to be part of an overall initiative. You have to be bought off in order to advocate for it and go through the pain of getting your teams to do it. What brought you to the point where you're like, hey, you know what? This is something we need to do.
But you know what? Hearing it from our, younger staff, seeing that, if someone's on their downtime, they're on their phone swiping. You go in a restaurant, someone's swiping. Everybody's on their phone, right? You can't live without your phone. So we kept hearing more from the staff. And we had someone that was doing some social media, Facebook and stuff for that. And he just kept trying to get us to do social. And I said, I just don't want to get on camera myself. I don't have the time. I don't know what to say. And we started following Russ Flips Whips. We started following Russ. Big fan of Russ. He came out to the dealership. We brought him in and he trained for us, and it kind of energized the staff, shows, everybody knows who Russ is. They got excited about it. They trained us. And then, step 2 was when they exit, we needed to make sure we had a plan with our own team to continue the training, because I'm sure Sam more than anybody, nothing's worse than you pay for a training and then it doesn't go anywhere, right? It's like, hey, we paid this money and we brought in a phone trainer, and then no one gets on the phone. You're like, why did we just spend all this time? It's one of the worst things in the car business. We'll do something well and then scrap it. Hey, that was great.
Yeah, it works so well, we decide to move on to something else, right? It's like, hey, that was such a great initiative. So give us, before we ask you to quantify the impact, give us kind of a ballpark. What does a budget look like to get your teams trained, but then also you talk about having a crew going around to the different stores and recording. What is the training cost? And then what is the production cost?
Well, the training for Russ, and I don't know if he fluctuates that, per dealer. So I really don't want to say his price out there if that would cause him an issue, but it's expensive. But it's well worth it. And, having multiple rooftops as you do, you could spread that cost across the group. So it's really not that expensive. When we look at what we pay our third-party vendors, you pay all of these vendors out there. We thought to pay a camera person a salary, who has an assistant with them, and they do the editing. I mean, you can start this with a few $1,000s. You don't have to go crazy and pay some of the other companies you're doing. So the budget's not that bad. Now we're just, getting this going. That could change. We could add to that as we get more buy-in from the staff. But cool. You do want to pay for the training, and then you do want to have an exit plan when training leaves to keep this going. So cool. It is an initial investment, but I think, as you know, Sam, we're paying vendors every month to put our cars out there. So you have salesmen standing around when it's slow. You have service writers and mechanics. Why not post? Why not get out there? Let people know who we are in the community, what we do, and what we can do for them.
So you've invested money to train, you've invested money for production and content creation. Can you quantify the impact of that investment? Are you able to say, hey, X number of vehicles, X number more ROs. What's the impact of this?
You know, I would say right now we're still in the early stages. We launched this back in March, and as we started building it, like I said, we've sold a few cars off of it. We've sold some things in our pro shop. We've definitely seen an impact in the service department. But I'd say, Sam, what you see is your appointment show rate go up significant because someone receives a video, they see that car, you put a reserve tag with their name in it. Hey, Sam, here's your car. We'll see you at 3:00. I think when the customer sees that, they go, oh, they took the time. They got the car ready, put my name on it, sent me a video. So I think that's impactful. That's where we've seen the most impact. We've seen our show rate go up. And as your show rate goes up, your sale rate will go up because you're going to have more engagement.
And that's quantifiable. So for our 5,000 guests and folks that are watching and listening, I imagine there's maybe 1,000 who are in dealership with this question. They're like, hey, we're not on social media. We don't do anything on social media. I'm nervous to have my salespeople posting things ad nauseum. Like, where do we even start? Like, as someone who kind of began this journey 3 months ago, where would you start? And what would you say to someone who's like, I don't want salespeople just posting stuff. I mean, what if they say something wrong? What if they get us canceled? What if something goes awry, right? What's your advice? Where do you start and what's your advice?
Yeah, so where I would start with that, Sam, is you'd have to get together with your managers and you guys come up with a game plan of, okay, who are we going to let post in the dealership and what can we let them post about? And then we do a checklist. Here's what you can post about our dealership, and it's got to be signed off on. So it's not someone going on, they go home and go on a rant or do something that could affect the brand or the business. It's not about that. It's about promoting, the dealership and what we do in the community. So I'd say put a tight checklist together, and someone has to manage it. Like, so the guy that comes in, Dave, our social media gentleman who manages it, he is the social media manager for the group. So he comes in and the salespeople have to listen to him and he monitors what they do. And then we approve anything before it gets posted.
So we've got a comment. That is incredible advice. We have a comment from the car dealership guy himself, Yossi. Yossi's asking, how's biz going for Dustin right now? So when you think about this initiative overall, how's business this month?
Business is good. Business is good. It's been steady. I mean, we'd like to have a little more inventory, but who wouldn't? But business is it's been solid. It's been good in sales and in service. I think you see, when the tariffs got announced, you saw some initial, showroom traffic, maybe a little bit of panic buying. Hey, prices are going up. Let's get it now. We were posting on that also saying, hey, you know what? If you're not in the market the next year, this won't affect you. But if it does, if you are looking for a car in the next few months, I'd go ahead and get it now. And then you see the other side of it where people are going, hey, I'm not going to buy a car. I'm just going to service my car. So, you see that uptick in fixed operations. But I would say business is good. It's steady. We're in growth mode. So I'm excited that we're rolling right now.
Hey, Dustin, I have a question for you, just to quantify or give a little more context. So obviously you're pointed with your social media strategy for the store, and it looks like the page you're having these guys produce and post. Are you also having your personnel post on their private pages? Are you leveraging that part of social media?
Yes, we are just starting to dabble into that because, again, you want to put the restrictions out there, what someone can and cannot say. You don't ever want anybody to say something that could affect you. And sometimes you can overthink that too. You can go, oh man, you really shouldn't say that. I think sometimes we scrutinize a lot of that. You want those natural posts. So we do welcome that. We ask them to do that because, it helps grow their brand. And one thing about us, we're saying, hey, grow your brand. And if you happen to some reason leave here, that brand stays with you. So it's not like we're trying to completely lock that down. And they should. I mean, if you're posting, I tell people, this is a digital business card. I mean, Sam, I'm sure you get pitched every day. People come by throwing you a business card. Half of those, they go right in the garbage can. So I said, what better business card than to call up and say, hey, you know what, Sam, you looked at this yellow Camaro. You got to go talk to your wife about it. Here's the video. Here's what it looks like. Give us a thumbs up and we'll get the paperwork going. I think that helps build that. And that's what we're trying to do here. So I think you want your salespeople engaged. You want them to think outside the box and use as a digital business card. And then when you purchase a vehicle, what better follow-up than, hey, Sam, thank you for purchasing that yellow Camaro. Have your managers, hey, thank you, I'm Dustin. Hey, I'm Tony, the used car manager. Kind of go around the store and send that welcome video. And I think it's great for retention. And, people hear things at the dealership. I think people need to know, hey, I'd like to go do business there. That's a fun place. They seem like good people. And that's what we are. And that's what we're trying to show.
With your crew also, I think it's super important. I'm sure you're already doing this. It's not always inviting the customer to come in and buy a car from you. A lot of this stuff is just informational. You want it to be spread. Back when we were all younger, they used to say the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right? You got 6 degrees of separation between you and him. So imagine what social media can leverage for you. But I would always tell my salespeople the same thing. Go out, talk about tires, talk about fuel economy. What problem can you help someone solve? Not who wants to buy a car. That's too generic. That's too obvious. You know what I mean?
They'll swipe off of that. And we're not saying we're superstars at this by any means. We got the training wheels on, but there's buy-in and we're trying it, and we're all in on it. We're going to continue to post it.
So before we let you go, Dustin, you've been in the car business a long time. And in fact, I think you've referred to yourself as an old car dog, right? You started in the service department, you started washing cars, you've grown up in this business. So 2 questions. How do you, with your teams in this new era, whatever, how do you keep that fire alive in your teams? And then what's one habit that you'll never give up as an old school car guy?
Oh, those are good questions. I mean, I think the one habit I can't give up is you have to be relentless. I mean, you have to be relentless. You have to have drive. So I think that's what I try to do with people around me. You have to be the head coach, right? You're the quarterback. It starts with that. So I think the habit is motivation. You have to motivate people. I say you scrutinize processes, right? You put processes in, they need to work. And I ask managers, manage the process, but you also have to manage the people individually. So that's a habit. I love talking to everybody in the staff because you could hear saying, hey, this guy's having a slow month and I don't know if this guy's going to make it. You walk over and start talking to that person and you can find out he just got hit with divorce papers or, something's happening in their personal life. And you need to hit that reset button with them and say, hey, let's step in. Let's motivate you. Let's help you, get through your day. You're looking out these windows all day from 9 to 9. You might as well be productive. And that can usually help, help you solve some problems and keep your mind off those problems. So I think that habit is just motivation. I have to be relentless. Every day I get up and I feel like this is I want to win. I want to win and I want the people around me to win. And I want it fun. I want people to pull up here and be excited to go to work.
Well, Dustin Collins, we absolutely appreciate you being on the show, sharing your perspectives with us today. We want to hear at some point in the future what the total outcome is of this social media campaign. If you actually can get to the point where when you turn on that camera, people don't run away, but people embrace it. That 78-year-old story is awesome that you took someone that had not a lot of, I assume, not a lot of experience.
Yeah, he had a flip phone. He didn't even want to get out. Now he.
That's awesome that you can get somebody to see the light, so to speak, on it and embrace it because it is the next way. So anyway, Dustin Collins, we appreciate you being with us. Thanks for joining us.
Look forward to being on again, hopefully.
So that's fun. He's very close. Roberto Evians, you have a huge fan here. It says Yuli is the GOAT, and Yuli, you are the GOAT. Thoughts on sales in Downers Grove, Yuli?
Listen, he said something that's near and dear to my heart, and it's connecting with the people in every single department. I mean, rather than just writing someone off that is having a down week or a down month, you would be so surprised talking to someone, leveling with them, what's going on in your personal life. And then me long enough now to understand one of my greatest drivers professionally is helping people elevate themselves in every aspect. So you fine tune all these things and you bring the whole team up.
All right, let's keep the momentum. Next up, we're turning to the vice president of sales at a company called Mia, Scott Traylor. Scott, welcome to the show.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, Scott, how are you? So I'd asked you briefly, what made you make the pivot? So you were in retail, and now you're at a startup. That's a big leap of faith. Give us a little context. Where did you come from? Where are you at now?
Sure, and thanks for the opportunity. Straight up car guy. I've been in the business over 20 years as a dealer operator. I did over a decade with Van Tile going into Berkshire Hathaway. From there, I went to Sonic Automotive. They hired me to be head of sales for the Echo Park division. So managing high volume dealerships, managing high volume operations, creating efficiencies, optimizing operations, that's something that's been ingrained in me. And honestly, years ago, a big catalyst for my career has been, traffic management to success at a dealership level, making sure we're converting on all those leads, following up with everything. And that's always been present in my entire career as I progressed forward. When I saw ChatGPT come out, I knew there was an opportunity here. I knew there was an opportunity to really take dealership management, traffic management, and success in the dealership to a completely different level. The problem was I'm not an engineer. I didn't know how to put it together. So I reached out, honestly, to a local university, University of Texas, and they had an AI society there. The president was a guy named Brian. He's now our CEO. Here's two things I didn't know about Brian when I met him. First off, he was 25 years old. Start there. And he was a professor at the university at 25. Secondly, he had just exited his first tech startup. And so I'm sitting here cold calling him. I'm a car guy. That's what we do. I cold called him. I'm like, hey, there's something here. I want to get ahead of it. I want to get involved in it. I want to be a catalyst for change and success, not only for my dealership, for everybody in this industry. I love this industry. And so, he came in with his original partner and a gentleman that they worked with before. We all sat down and really started diving into this. And they were like, hey, we have an opportunity to really change the voice conversations experience that dealers, not even dealers, that people have experienced for over time. When I say that, I'm thinking, and I want you to think, every time you said operator, receptionist,
it's terrible.
Out of a phone.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Give me
He's
someone.
like, we're going to attack that. And I told him, I was like, if you channel every bit of that into automotive and you automate a BDC, this will be valuable to every dealer in America. And these three incredibly smart individuals looked at me and asked me, what the heck is a BDC? I'm like, come on in, man. Let me teach you the car business. And that's our biggest difference. There's a couple other groups that are in this market, but we're built by car guys. I've been here since before we were incorporated. I've been preaching to the bottlenecks, the log jams, the places where we can't achieve success in the dealership to these incredibly smart individuals. And as I'm airing out our dirty laundry, if you will, about the car business, these guys are taking notes. These guys are listening. These guys are coding. And they created the most amazing product.
So your product engages with customers as a BDC would using voice. And your claim to fame is, hey, it's as realistic as a real human, almost to the point where you can't tell the difference, right?
Correct.
So I'm curious, you are able to track call volumes. What is your experience right now in the marketplace? Are you seeing increased volume, flat, decrease versus the past 90 days? What does the last 30 days look like in automotive as it relates to leads, lead handling, and lead generation?
So it's a little bit skewed on my part because we've experienced some incredible growth in the last 6 months, literally in the 500 percentile range year over year. Every month we've been increasing our sales. So that number obviously increases because we put more dealers into the funnel. And so call volume increases as well. But, at the beginning, we used to call it success if we had containment. And we define containment as Mia could resolve the consumer issue.
Okay.
That's contained without transfer. And so we used to consider that success. And that used to hover around 70%. Here's the problem. We introduced unlimited calls about 2 months ago to a lot of our dealers because she was so successful. They literally made an internal decision. I want her taking every call. I've seen the volume. I've seen the success on sales and in service. I want her taking every call. And so because of that, we had to kind of shift what we look for in success, because now she's acting as a receptionist as well as a BDC. And so transferring the call might be exactly what you want her to do. If you wanted her to transfer the call to Sam and it gets to his desk, that's success. And so we're looking and reevaluating exactly how to quantify what success looks like now that we're taking absolutely every call in a lot of our dealerships, not all, but a lot.
So you're having success implementing the system, and it's tough to see lead volume and the delta there. I'm curious, on Monday, we had Tom Goodwin on, and he did this experiment. Many of our listeners will remember this, where he actually inquired at a dealership just to see what their lead response was from the BDC. He had 7 different responses from different people coming back at him. And it created this thing of he wasn't able to get the information he needed. He wasn't able to get price. He wasn't able to get availability, and just kind of ended up being frustrated. Now, he represented an OEM. He was trying to point out to the OEM how crazy and fragmented the systems are, and many BDC systems are. What would you say to that? Like, technology is interesting, and you offer a technology solution for BDC and for, it sounds like, at the front desk.
Mm-hmm.
But is also a risk of technology, these different systems not playing well together?
So there's a couple of things going on in that question. I'm going to unpack all this. First off, I think he's accurate in the mishandling of the opportunity. And when he saw so many different responses coming back, and honestly, a lot of them weren't the accurate response. That's part one. I think that is buffered and supported by Four Eyes did a report just a couple of months ago. And they said 43% of all volume of leads are mishandled.
Wow.
And which, that goes with what you're saying. And so for dealers like us, dealers like you, it basically says that we're operating on about 57% of all the leads that we get. Pause that, put that in the air for a second, and think of how much you spent to get that lead.
Yeah.
Just put that number in your head. You guys are dealer operators, so you know that
a lot of money. Yeah.
And so you think of just throwing 43% of your money out the window at 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I wanted to just parallel what he had said in that report, because they both support each other. But here's the thing. Mia offers consistency and follow-up, consistency in answering a lead that right now we can't achieve. And it's not that I'm not going to put this message out there like we're doing things bad. I'm not saying that. I think that teams at store level are doing the best they can. I think that teams are completely covered up. I really do. I think they're completely covered up, especially back in service. When we came into the market, we started in sales. That was key for me, because a lot of the other groups in the space, they go only to service. Think about that. They're missing the whole sales opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And they did that because it's hard. Sales is not easy. And that's why we started in sales. We like the hard stuff. And so for us to be effective in that conversation, we had to integrate with inventory management. We had to integrate with all the CRMs, so that if Sam calls in and says, hey, does this car have ventilated seats? He gets the right answer. Yeah. And if Yuli calls in and says, hey, what's the difference between a platinum and a limited? He gets the answer in 2 seconds. Okay. And that sets the difference between how powerful Mia is in comparison to a lot of the other products that are in this space. And so consistency in lead follow-up, lead answering, we're in a place right now where we answer the inbound, but we're about to drop on the market the outbound. And what I mean by that is actually facing the lead. And that is a game changer.
I was going to ask you, Scott, how you integrate with dealership systems, but I guess you touched on it a little bit. But what kind of training is involved in rolling out a system like Mia at the dealer level?
I think that's an awesome question, because we had to identify a long time ago, like, what is Mia's perfect client and what is Mia's perfect partner? And so what we communicate to our dealer partners is Mia is going to be your most important employee. We need you to think about her as an employee and not a tool. If you think of her as a tool, we've lost the game. We really have. We've lost the game already. When you hire someone, you're going to partner that individual with a champion in your store. You're going to make sure that that new individual to your team is well-trained, knows your word tracks, knows your processes, knows your protocols. They know at the very least where to go get the answer if they don't have the answer. The same thing happens with Mia. When we integrate her into your system, and when I say integrate into your system, we're already integrated with almost 90% of the tech stacks in automotive. Think about that. We connect her into your CRMs and your service schedulers. We connect her into your inventory. Once this is all connected, then we have over 100 configurations that we ask dealership leaders, what would you like to configure her to do in this circumstance? I'll give you an example, Yuli. Two GMs. One GM has a car that was sold 3 hours ago. He might say, set the appointment anyway if the customer is interested, and I'll switch them when they get here. GM number 2 might say, be transparent, let them know the car was sold, offer them a like car in the process of the call. We don't have a dog in the fight. What we want is to accomplish the leadership's goal at store level. And so we design Mia to be highly configurable, highly customizable, so that she can be the ultimate employee that works 24 hours a day at your dealership.
So is your intent to like fully replace traditional BDCs, like with this voice technology?
Absolutely not.
No?
Absolutely not. And I'll tell you why. I'll give you a great example. One of our best dealer partners, what they did was they never let one person go from BDC. They never let one individual go from the BDC. What they did was they shifted responsibilities. You see, AI will never take the place of a charismatic individual.
Yeah.
Sam, Yuli, myself, we leaders in automotive, leaders in the stores that we manage. AI is not going to take our place. Okay. But for us to be successful, even your salespeople and your service advisors, there's a burden on success. That burden is emails, phone calls, text messages. And if you want to be successful in the car business, you're going to have to do a whole lot of all those. That's where AI can get involved.
Because Scott, and we've talked to a bunch of different AI companies, different AI technologies. They're not all equal. It sounds like if you've got the voice piece solved and you've got the latency solved and you're able to connect with different systems, you've got a leg up.
Sure.
One of the biggest challenges I feel like in your industry is convincing BDC's dealership staff that you're a help, not a hurt, that you're seeking to enhance, not to replace. And I imagine that's a big hill to climb. I think once staff realize that, employees realize that, they're going to embrace it. Until they do, I imagine you probably get a little bit of pushback, and that's got to be a challenge. How are you, just last question, how are you addressing that? And then what sorts of things are you developing into the future as the last question?
Sure. How we're addressing that is high-level communication early and often. We get with leadership, and we partner with leadership to identify the champion at store level. Then our conversation points to that individual. Listen, you have an incredible opportunity to be the AI director for the future of this dealership, because AI you and I both know right now, this ain't going nowhere. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. So how do we partner to make sure this makes sense? That dealer I was speaking of, I'll put them out there. It's Earnhardt out in Arizona. What they did was they shifted Mia to answer the first call, and then Mia triages, and their BDC handles the more difficult calls. That does is it frees up their BDC to get involved with the more tedious calls. Ultimately, everything rises in the dealership because there's no opportunity missed.
So Scott, I've seen that where if you implement it correctly, it actually creates better leads. It actually creates better engagement, better responses. And actually your teams, your people that want to go after the best stuff, engage at a better, higher level with that stuff. All right, real quick, because we're out of time.
Sure.
Anything in the future horizon that's exciting?
The next thing on our horizon is to drop the outbound. We're going to be offering outbound to all of our clients and the clients that we're signing up. Mia will be able to chase down your opportunities. We're training her on equity mining on sales side. We're training her on showroom follow-ups, training her on customer pay declines, recalls. We're training on a lot of opportunities to drive business into the front door.
So Scott, I have a suggestion for you and similar technologies, and I'd love to have somebody create this. I'd love to be able to scan a QR code or call a phone number. I know it's probably not a phone number. It shows my age. I should look it up in a phone book, right? Where you could actually have a conversation with some demo version of whatever the voice AI is. You call 1-800 whatever. You call up and you have a conversation and just be able to go down it, so that people that don't understand the technology, have never interacted, engaged with it, could actually get an opportunity to engage with it. One day it would be cool if we had an AI provider that came on the show and actually did an interview full AI, if that's even possible. Sounds like yours might be. So that's the challenge, Scott.
I like that.
You,
I like
Mia,
that.
and
I like
whoever
that.
else.
I love that.
You know, it's interesting. We talk so much about it. Let's see it. Let's put it to the test. Let's let
Go
it
to
come off the rails.
Mia.inc and you will
All
be
right.
able to actually call in and chat with me and ask her what she does for a living.
Okay, there you go.
All right.
Yeah, she'll give you some insight into what she does, what she doesn't do, and the type of questions she can answer.
We're going to check it out. Scott Traylor, Vice President of Sales at Mia. Thank you for being on the show today, and thank you for your perspective.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Scott.
I want to see it work. I don't want to hear about it. I want to see it. And so that would be a heck of a lot of fun to one day have a guest. So I'm sure we'll, Jay Law and the entire team will probably get a few people reaching out on that. All right, let's hit the industry pulse. This is an exciting one, Yuli. Benzes and Bow Ties, Doug Horner. We know him because we've seen him on social media. Released an interesting video about his perspective on car shoppers who won't consider a new vehicle and only shop used in search of a good deal. Doug then points out that could be a false premise and gave an example of used 2023 4Runners with 40K plus 1,000 miles, transacting at just 3,000 less than a new 4Runner before incentives and rebates. His message? Well, you could be massively overpaying for a used car, and ignoring new cars could be costing you. From this video.
Yeah, listen, I love Doug, so I don't know him personally, but I love the content, so no disrespect, but I think Doug might be smoking a little on this assumption. I think there's a lot of people that only buy used cars, right? They write off new cars. They say, no, absolutely not. I'm never buying a new car. That's a waste of money. But his pointing out specifically Toyota, I've been in the car business for 20 years. Toyotas have tremendous resale value in every capacity. I've always looked at the price of Tacomas. You know, Tacomas, the FJ Cruiser when we had it for a minute, a 4Runner. A Toyota buyer is different than any other type of buyer. I mean, if it's a $3,000 savings for the same car with 40,000 miles, that's substantial. But here's the asterisk.
You would save $3,000 and accept a vehicle with 40,000 miles and consider that a good deal?
Well, no, I think here's the asterisk, right?
Okay.
How many Toyotas that are that desirable, like a 4Runner, a TRD Pro, something like that? You think it's really a $3,000 difference in price? Or are they still grabbing significantly higher than MSRP on those cars?
Yeah. You know, I know from a turn and earn type, like it's a very competitive marketplace outside right now. So in the Toyota sphere where inventory is the prized possession, and in a lot of these OEMs that have exercised very high discipline on inventory, I don't know. That's interesting. But every used car manager just heard this 40K, 3K. I get it. I love it. I love it. Yuli, yes?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Yuli, we're going to turn from voice AI, Mia, to text AI. This episode of Daily Dealer Live is brought to you by Podium. Fast response times aren't just a nice to have, they're your competitive edge. With Podium's AI BDC, dealerships are seeing an 80% increase in after-hour appointment by handling leads 24/7. This conversational AI acts like your best sales rep, booking test drives, answering questions, and connecting with customers instantly, even on nights and weekends. Plus, AI allows your teams to focus on what matters most, closing deals. Don't let leads slip through the cracks. Turn interest into sales day or night with Podium. Learn more by texting CDG to 385-293-3461. That's CDG to 385-293-3461. Or click the link in the show notes below. So,
I love it.
All right, let's turn to our final dealer segment today. Let's bring up operating partner at Dogwood Automotive, John Alcorn. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you guys today? Sam, really nice to be on.
It's good. It's good to have you on. We're excited to have you wrap us today. So tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and what Dogwood Automotive, where you're located. And it looks like you've got Mazda, VW, and Volvo in your portfolio currently.
Yeah, so we're in Winchester, Virginia. So we're literally just over the hill from Loudoun County, Fairfax, Falls Church area. And we are Volvo, Volkswagen, Mazda. So my business partner is Jim Keffer out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and we've been working on this one for quite a while. But we finally closed down last August, very end, beginning of September. We got this from the Don Buyer Group, which they had sold all their stores. The buyer name's still out there, but they had kind of gotten rid of everything, and we were fortunate enough to grab these in the for 3 years running the fastest growing market in Virginia. So we're super excited to have it, and super excited for Jim to give me an opportunity to get, buy him out. And he's one of the few guys left in the industry that does that. So I'm really excited about it.
So John, before we go to some comments, we've got a lot of comments from our 8,000 viewers currently. How's business today? What are you seeing out there in the marketplace?
It's a roller coaster, and I preach to the guys every day that, listen, as things change for us every day, the consumers are even, they're even less informed than we are sometimes, and we need to make sure we can control our controllables every day. We're in the automotive industry, but we're in the people business, and we got to make sure that we control our attitude every day, what we're doing with our leads, our closing, our gross, what we're doing every day to produce traffic. It can change day to day. Sometimes leads are up, leads are down, but we just got to control everything we're doing.
You got to control the stuff you can control, and you can control mindset. Let's turn to some comments, John, from our audience. David Thomas says, I've been saying new is a better deal than used for years. When I was on the consumer side until now, you never know who owned it before you. Toyota is not the only example today, especially if you consider incentivized interest rates. What say you about that, John?
So I think there's some research out there. Maybe even seen it on Car Dealership Guy on LinkedIn on a post. And then there's a couple other things that say that the near new market right now is almost as high as COVID right now, I believe. That 23, that 24 market, you look at, I'm looking at Jettas, right? So that near new market is crazy. And the Jetta market, especially for Volkswagen, obviously we know the issues going on with Jetta and with Volkswagen, and they're doing a great job with handling everything they can. But with immediate pricing actions closing in, you're looking at these cars that are entry level vehicles that people aren't going to be able to afford after these tariffs hit, right? Yeah. So after this, my business partner Jim was talking about it. What are the manufacturers doing to capture that next generation of market? I'm not talking about the 40, 45-year-old person with great income, great family that can buy whatever they want. They have the credit and the money for it. We're talking about that 25, 26, 27-year-old that they can't afford a $29,000 starting automobile. So what about the certified lease programs? What's out there for that? How can we get that affordable car and capture that next generation of buyer so that we all know it? You look at somebody and they go, hey, I've always driven a Volkswagen. That's what I drive, right? Yeah. Well, that's because that's what they always drove. Well, how are we getting them into that automobile early enough and into that line early enough when your starter vehicle is going to be outpriced to the market? I mean, it's designed to be a starter vehicle, and that's what we're facing. So that near new market is going nuts.
I look at my own kids and I think about some of these entry-level vehicles, entry-level homes. Like, it is just a challenge in today's marketplace. So how cool to be thinking about that. Bill Vaughn says, people make the mistake of only comparing used to new, used to used when shopping. They don't compare to new. And that's a fair point, John. Like when someone has it in their head, they're going to buy a used car. Sometimes it can feel like you're trying to sell them. It's like a switch to go from used to new. Ryan Felder says, why can't we have a simple car, 20K buttons only, no touchscreen? Yuli, we've heard about that simple car on this show. Have we not? What's it called?
No, hold on a second. I just need to comment on that. So Nissan created that car. It's called the Versa. Would you like to buy one?
Yes, absolutely. So John, you did something that a lot of our audience member now at 8,000 or so viewers right now would love to do. And that is go from an operator to an owner. And the bar is high. It's tough to do that. How did you make that switch? What did it cost you to make that jump?
So it is, first and foremost, I'm absolutely blessed to have the partner that I have. There's very, very few people left in the industry, and I don't think I can speak well enough about him, that do what Jim does. Keffer Automotive, if you haven't heard of them, out of Charlotte, they've been around forever. His dad started the company 50 plus years ago. They're, Keffer and Keffer Show. Those guys are awesome. But what Jim does is he invests in people, right? We talk about it all the time. everybody who's been on a sales desk, everybody who's ever been in sales, you're in the people business, you're not in the car business, that people buy cars, not, he actually finds good deals and then he invests in people and he puts together dealer operator buyout programs. And
so presumably there was a cost to joining the program. I mean, you had to put some risk into it, right? And there's a
I actually
percentage
moved
share.
back up here. I grew up here, but I moved my whole family back, set everything up. It was awesome. And then, you buy in with him, and then essentially there's a preset contract that says, hey, this many percentage, this many years. And at the end of that time frame, you own it. He walks away.
Wow. Okay.
And it's
operating
really
or real estate or both?
Both at the very end.
Yeah.
So you basically paid him for everything during the course of it, and at the end of it, you negotiate the real estate and work on that portion of it. But I think he's completed 32 of these at this point. I'd have to ask him. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's 32 dealer buyout programs he's finished. And I think I'm like number 36 or 37. But he allows me to tap in with the management company under Keffer Automotive, because we are not Keffer Automotive. We're Dogwood Automotive, and that's my company. And but I get to tap into all the resources of a big company because, let's face it, there's these, you got the big names that have been around forever for generations and generations and generations, and they're buying up all these smaller stores on the fringe markets.
Yeah,
we're right on the outside of the DC market. And they're buying up all these smaller stores on the outside fringe markets, and as long as they're profitable, they're adding to their portfolio, and they're pushing forward. It makes hard guys like me. There's great GMs out there. There's great operators out there that they're never going to get a shot. And again, I was very blessed to know Jim, and I worked with one of his dealer buyout partners for a long time named Chris Morgan out of Greensboro, North Carolina. Awesome guy. So I knew Jim before, and then I went with Chris Doherty, and then Jim called me and we talked about this, and it happened. But there's a lot of guys out there that aren't going to get a shot because, let's face it, you're talking about some of these small stores on the outskirts of town that, it's $8, $9, $10 million blue to get in. Well, a lot of people don't have that laying around.
The barrier to entry is super high. So I want to ask you things that someone in your position should look out for when selecting a partner. But before we do that, Dogwood, where'd you come up with the Dogwood name? Is it a city? Is it an area? What is it? Give us that story.
So this is actually a pretty funny story. So Jim and I were talking about, we were down in Charlotte, we were talking about everything. We were going through the whole planning bit. We were trying to come up with names. And so we're right next to Shenandoah University. We're in the Shenandoah Valley. And Jim and I liked the name Shenandoah Volkswagen, Shenandoah Mazda, so forth.
It's already taken, I bet you $10.
Well, no, it was actually, we could have pulled it off.
Oh,
but I'm in a room with a lot of guys that are way smarter than I am, including Jim. And somebody who's been with him in the company for a long time, Miss Brenda goes, "Hold on, John, Jim, don't say a word. You guys, somebody in here spell Shenandoah." And nobody got it right. And it was like,
how often do people not think about that, right? You get a crazy name and you can never enter it into the Google search because you don't know how to spell it. Good for you.
It's not easy. And she called it out, and Jim and I were like, yeah, well, that's a good point. So we were literally sitting there Googling, and it was like, wait a second. The dogwood is the Virginia state tree and the Virginia state flower.
That's awesome.
Man, it's easy to pronounce. We could design a logo off of it. Rolls off the tongue. And then we started kind of looking to see what websites were available, and it just kind of happened. And it was pretty cool though. But it wasn't the original name, but it was a really good point. You look at somebody from Maryland or Pennsylvania, goes, yeah, we're Shenandoah Volkswagen. You spell that, and it's not the way you think it's spelled.
So John, for someone in your position going into that owner deal, a smaller group, so you've got Dogwood, you've got Mazda, VW, Volvo. What's one thing when you're looking for a partner such as Jim Kiefer that you would be careful to avoid in a partnership like that, where you're a minority partner in the way that you are? Presumably, are you minority? What's the percent split right now?
Well, yeah, I'm going to keep that one between Jim and I for now. But
fair enough.
What I looked for was, again, we're in the people business, so I'm not looking for somebody to come in and literally turn over every stone with me. I'm looking for that person that's going to come in, partner with me and trusted me to do what I'm doing. Jim's not. He's not involved in every day-to-day basis. I mean, he put me here and in this place to buy him out because he trusts what I do and he knows what's going on. I mean, he invests in the person. So I know there's other guys that are equity partners. There's other guys that are on dealer buyout programs that, they're getting 18 emails a day from their partner going, why are you doing this? What are you doing this? Why are you doing it? And they're spending
micromanagement
50 to 60% of their time just answering emails from their partner. It's like, dude, why am I even doing that?
But wouldn't you say because of the percentage, whatever it is, you actually work harder because you are fully invested? I mean, this is your future, right? You named the company, you're in the community, you're giving back. You have full autonomous ownership. Like in our world, we don't necessarily believe in ownership. We believe in the great pay piece, but you pay someone well and you empower them to do their job really well. And it changes the world. It changes a community that they're in. They give back in ways that are truly meaningful. They empower their employees. And I love, the reason why I love automotive is a little microcosm of democracy, right? You go in, and if you're empowered to make decisions to change people's lives, you're able to do that in automotive in a way no one else can, John, right? And you're doing that.
So ironically enough, another one of Jim's buyout partners is a guy named Cesar Jaimes, who was my mentor for a long time. He actually hired me into the business in 2008. And I was like maybe 8-9 months into the industry. And he told me, he said, hey, the most beautiful thing about the automotive industry is, more so than any other industry, if you do your job, you get to make all of your own decisions.
Yes.
If you don't, then someone's going to make it for you, and you're probably not going to like it.
Yes.
And
yes.
so, I really kind of took that to heart. He's still, one of my great friends, and ironically enough, is also one of Jim's partners. So you just try to do, it's cool because when you put somebody like me into a smaller store in a smaller market and then give that power that's like, hey, I'm not just a cog in a huge wheel here. This is my life, my family's life, my kids' life. I know every employee in here. I know their kids, their wife, their family. Like I don't have anybody in the auto industry.
Yeah.
My dad was a pilot. My mom was in real estate. I didn't come from the auto industry. I started as a salesperson and worked my way through it.
I love it. You are the American dream, John. You are the American dream. You're doing exactly what makes automotive great, whether you have ownership or you're fully empowered to be great in your world. That is what is great about automotive. So John Alcorn, operating partner at, watch this, Shenandoah Automotive Group. Not true. John Alcorn. Hey, look, that was late coming. I love it. John Alcorn, operating partner at Dogwood Automotive Group. Thanks for sharing your story with us today. And we want you back, by the way, when you complete that buyout, to tell us the rest of the story. This will be one of those rest of the story. We appreciate you being on the show and sharing your perspectives today, John. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, John.
I love that story. Bill Vaughn says, I've got Versas. Versas are great vehicles. Let's see what other comments we've got here coming up.
They are great vehicles. They kind of check all those boxes.
David Thomas says, Bill Vaughn, how many used RAV4 shoppers could you get into a new Rogue at the same price? Ooh. Fair question. Bill Vaughn, Dave Thomas, if we had them, yes. I love it. A little bit of banter between our listeners. Yeah. It's a fun conversation. Sean Hopper says, I want some words of wisdom. Oh, we already did that one. So now we're coming back to him. All right. Yuli, fun conversation on what it takes to become an employee to an owner operator, and whether you look for that ownership or whether you look for great pay and own your world. It's a cool path either way. And I love the Dogwood story. So
I agree.
All right. Well, hey, to everybody out there, thank you for watching Daily Dealer Live, where we break down the biggest moves in the car business as they happen. Don't forget, we're here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So if this is your world, hit like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. One last comment, the car father was great. Turn on those notifications. And by the way, if you want to be on the show and join us, reach out to the car dealership guy. There's a link in the show notes, the podcast post here. We'd love to have you on the show on a future episode. We will see you on Friday's episode, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central, and 11 Mountain Time. Thanks, everybody, for being here and joining us today.
Thanks, guys.